Hello everyone, I'm Mushir Rashid and welcome to Fusion 360 Basic Training Course. As an expert lead, I thought that I should make some training course free for you who want to learn about Fusion 360 and want to know more about this software. So for a quick guideline, I have created a course for you all, and here it is. Today is the first day of this course, and today we will learn about the interface of the Fusion 360 software and also the sketching, how you can create the sketches. Fusion 360 is mainly a online based software, and you can also work in the offline mode also, but mainly we prefer to use online mode for working, as you can collaborate with your team and share your design files with others, and also create good things and stuffs in Fusion 360 in online mode. And you can also save your file in offline mode in your drive, and also you can work in offline mode also. So that's the introduction of this software, and now we will look at the interface of this software. So here it is, the interface. You can see here, you can see the canvas of the software. In here we create our models, 3D models and 2D sketches also we create in the canvas. This is a navigation cube on the right. You can see this cube is used to navigate your part. As it is a 3D part, you can look around it. So this is the command manager. Here you can access your commands. Only you can see here the 3D commands, but you can access to your 2D commands when you are creating a sketch or modifying a sketch. Here you can change your workspace. It is now in design. You can change it to render, animation, simulation, manufacture, drawing, anything. Here you can also change your design workspaces in various tools like surface, sheet metal. Those are actually a little bit advanced or intermediate tools, so we are not going to look into those. So these are the basic 3D tools we can see, and this is the browser. This browser stores your sketches and features and in a way so that you can access them quickly. And this is the timeline. The timeline helps you to understand how your design approach is moving, so you can understand which feature is used after which one. And this is a parametric way. Actually, we change our design so often when we are a mechanical designing field, and we change this designs so often, so we need to use the timeline for this. And that's the pretty much basics for the interface. And now we are going to look at the sketch environment for Fusion 360, how you can use the sketch environment, how you can create a sketch, because sketching is the first criteria for creating a 3D. As it is a parametric CAD software, you have to create a sketch, 2D sketch, and then you have to guide it. You have to use it to guide the software to create a 3D shape. By using some sketch-based feature, you have to create a shape. So first you have to create a sketch. So for sketching, I'm clicking on the sketch, and here you can see 3 planes. These 3 planes are top, front, and right plane. It is actually Fusion 360 canvas is like a 3D graph. So here you can see a triad, and a triad has a 0. We all know that there is a 0, and X, Y, and Z came to the 0 at this point. So you have to choose a plane in here to create a sketch. Without selecting a plane, you can't write anything, right? Without having a paper, you can't write anything in an empty space, or in a air you can't write anything, so you have to select a plane in here. So I'm selecting top plane, and instantly I'm into this top plane sketch mode. You can see the sketch commands in here, and there is a sketch palette. Notice that I am immediately after selecting the top plane, I am in this top plane mode. But some of you may face this in another way. You may face this like 3D mode. Still in the 3D mode, you are not going to show this like this perpendicularly looking at this top plane. So that's a problem. How you can solve that problem, I'm going to show you that. I'm escaping. You go to the preference. Those who of you are facing this problem, I'm just telling you, you go to the preference, go to design, and see that if there is the 3D sketching is clicked or not. Allow 3D sketching or lines and splines. It shouldn't be clicked. It should be unchecked. So you can see directly to the plane like this. It helps you a lot to create an accurate sketch without looking into perpendicularly to the plane. It becomes so tough to sketch. So without that, you can also access to your sketch perpendicularly. Look at your plane like clicking in the top of this navigation cube. So that is a good process to start. And in the sketch palette, you can see some other options, but we are not going to worry about them right now. So I'm going to just hide this sketch palette. And then now what we are looking at is the sketch tools, how you can create the sketches. So here there are some kind of tools. Those are classified by their nature. First kinds are the create one. These are the create tools by which you can create your shape. Lines, rectangles, circles, arcs. And these are the modify tools. You can modify your sketch by them. You're not going to add, you're just going to remove or make it a good shape by these tools. These are the constraints. You can use the constraints to change the geometric shapes and make them less free, and also make them defined actually, that how they should be and how they should act. And some other tools like inspect and insert canvas, those are different. I'm not going to show you that. So first I'm going to show you how you can create any shape of 2D in Fusion 360. For example, starting with line. When I click on line, you can click any point, as I prefer to start with this 0 point. So I'm going to start with that, clicking on that, and then I'm not clicking and dragging my mouse. Okay, I'm just clicking once in here, and then I'm clicking another time here. So that's how I create a line. But in here you can see it is also trying to create a polyline. So that's sometimes you face problems, some of you, that why it is creating another line, because sometimes we like to create shapes like this in a quick way. So for that we need to make this thing like continuous with each other. So it is a good practice to use polyline when you are creating any shape like this. You can create it very easily, but suppose you have to make one line. How you can make one line? So first point, you clicked on the first point, then you click on the second point, then it is also now moving, right? So you right click and select OK. So that's how it will be vanished, and you will define one line as you want. For this line command, you only have 2 points, right? First point and second point. That's how you can define a line. You don't need to drag the mouse pointer like this. You don't need to click and drag. That's a very much lengthy process. You shouldn't do that. You should just click once and then another time. Another command is circle. How you can select and create a circle. Here is a circle command. You will create select the circle. First you have to click on the center of the circle. So I clicked on the center, and then I am expanding the circle outside, so you can see the mouse pointer is with the perimeter of the circle. So that's a good thing. If I put this point anywhere I want, like this end point of the line, I click on this, so the circle is created from here. It is the center, and then it ended up at the end point of this line, so the perimeter goes with this. So that's how you can create a center and perimeter point circle. If you drop down this create tab, you can see more commands. There are some more commands. In the circle, you will see some other options for creating the circle. That's what we created, was a center radius circle, and we can also create center diameter circle, which is kind of similar. And then we have 2 point circle, which is the 2 point of a rectangle, 2 point of the perimeter, and you can then add dimension in the circle. And then we have some other points like 3 point circle, 2 tangent circle. What is this? 2 tangent circle is like creating a circle with tangency. I'm creating a circle with tangent to this line and this line. I click them, and then I click here. So what happens is that right click and OK to turn off that command. What happened in here is that I created a circle which is tangent to this line and this line, which is very much interesting way to create a circle. If you want, if required, you can create this kind of circle. Now there are some other commands, but I am not going to show you those. Those are very much easy and you can figure them out. I am going to show you 3 point arc. How you can create 3 point arc. It's very easy. Just create 1 point, then another, that's the first point and the end point of the arc, and you create the third point which will define its radius. So that's the arc. These shapes what we are creating, some of them are blue and some of them are black. The blue shapes are not really defined yet. Their dimensions and their position is not defined yet. Fully defined, actually, not partially defined. I am saying fully defined. And the black shapes are quite defined. You can see I can move it, but this point is not black, this is white. I can move it. I can move the point, but I can move the line up and down. Similarly, I can move this because it is blue, it is not defined, and also change its radius because there is no dimension in here. I haven't put any dimension in here, so I am not defining it. And also the position of this arc is not also defined. What's the position? the position of something in sketch is the position defined by the origin, the 0 0 of this graph. That's the position of something is defined by that 0, or a fully defined sketch. That means if let's drag them and delete them. If I create a rectangle in here and put a dimension, that's how there is a sketch dimension option. I am just putting a dimension in 70 and 80. So this rectangle is totally fully constrained because the rectangle is created in such a way so that all the lines are black. So now if I create a circle and give it a relation, firstly I am giving it a dimension of 60 and also giving it a position from this rectangle, not this origin. The rectangle is defined by the origin, but I am defining the circle by the rectangle. So if I click here and here, the circle is now black. So you can define a shape's position from a fully defined another object. So you can use this procedure if you want, and it all depends on the parameters and the data you have to create the drawing. So that's the main fact. And now I'm going to show you how to create a rectangle. As I created once, you can select the two corners of the rectangle and that will be created, but it is now blue. You can move it still now. And there are other rectangle types like center rectangle. What that creates is a center line and the midpoint of the rectangle. Actually, you create the midpoint of the rectangle, you expand it, and then you get a rectangle with a hidden line. These lines are hidden line. You can see the dotted line. Those are the hidden line. Why those are called hidden lines? These lines are used to construct this shape, not to used to be affected to use the 3D shapes. It won't be used to create the 3D shapes. It won't affect the 3D shape. It will only affect the 2D shapes. So that's why it is called construction lines. And you can also make them visible line by clicking on them, going to the sketch palette, and there is a construction option. You can uncheck that. So this is a solid line now, and that will affect the sketch 3D. So I'm going to make them construction again. So that's construction. So that's how you are going to create the rectangle. You can also create the arc, and I'm not going to show you the spline, feed point spline. That's a really advanced option to learn, not for the beginning. I'm not going to suggest that for the beginning. Now here you can see some other commands like mirror. So how you can create a mirror? Mirror command is like creating something, as like I create this line and I created another shape at one side of the line. I'm not dimensioning it, so I'm going to the mirror command. Here you can select the objects that to be mirrored. And I'm selecting the mirror line. This is the mirror line. If I check OK, you can see the shape, 2D shape is symmetrical. So if I move this, you can see the other one moves. That is a good way to create the foundation of a symmetrical object. So you can dimension it easily, and you don't need to create another portion by spending some times. It will save you some times. So that's a good idea of creating a mirrored shape. Now in here you have circular pattern and rectangle pattern. What you can do with circular pattern and rectangle pattern, I'm going to show you. Suppose I have a circle with dimension of 70, and now I want to create a circle in a way, let's say I want to create 10 circles in this along this line, straight along this line, and also 2 or 3 circle along this way. So how you can create that? I am going to use the rectangle pattern. I am selecting the object which I want to rectangle pattern them, and also I am selecting the direction. So this is one direction and this is another direction. Now what I need to do, I need to put the values and the distance between them. So here you have to see the rectangle pattern panel. Here you can add many options. For example, I want to add exactly three instances along this direction, and the distance between them will be like 300. Sorry, this section introduces this direction. Sorry about that. So I wanted 10 for this, and the total distance is not 300. As you can see, they are intersecting. So I want 500. That's also intersecting. 700. That's a good way. So there are 10 rectangles in here, and also 3 by the distance of 225 millimeter each. So I make them 220. So you can create a lot of rectangle at a time by rectangle pattern, and the distance between them is equal as you want, and it is a good way to create a lot of sketch elements at a time. Circular pattern creates a circular shape or any shape to make it rotate along a point. So I am creating this and making a dimension. You have to create dimensions to fix the sketch. So I am 180, creating this 180, and now I am going to make circular pattern, and the object I selected and the center point for the circular pattern is this. Now in here, not in here, you can select how many elements you need. Suppose I press 10 and I select OK. You get 10 circles in equal distance, like circularly they are rotating. So that's a good way to create circular patterns. So many objects of same shape and same size oriented circularly along a point. So that's a good way to create circular pattern. And now I am going to show you some things about fillet. So I am now just creating this two lines, and show you the terminology of creating a fillet. These fillets are like 700 and 700. Now I don't want this sharp edge. I want this to be rounded. So what I am going to create, I am going to create a circle which is tangent. I showed you the tangent to two tangent circle, and I create a circle with a radius 200 is the diameter of the circle. Now if I trim this, trim is a command also. I'm going to show you how trim works, but I trim this. What I get is that the sharp edge is gone and I get a arc connecting smoothly the two lines in a tangent way, in a tangent relation. These are the tangent relation, and this arc is 200 in diameter. So this arc radius is 100, right? So 100 radius, and this thing or this element will be called a 100 radius fillet that will be sweeping smoothly tangentially from one line to another. So you can create this in an easy manner. How you can create, I'm Ctrl Z and going back to the primary shape. This was our primary shape, right? So I'm going to fillet. I'm selecting the objects and I selected them, and I am putting the radius for the fillet 100. If I press OK, there is a warning. Don't worry about the warning. You will get that shape instantly. You don't need to create the circle and then trim it. I just showed you how you can what is the terminology behind this trim command. So that's a good way to create your sorry, not trim command, actually fillet command. That's a good way to create your fillet, and that's it. Now we are going to show what's the trim command is. Imagine you have one line and you want to delete. Imagine you have a dimension for this line, that's 700, and I want to cut this line to 100 in here, somewhere around 100. So how you can cut it? There is no eraser in here, right? You know, you have been using the paint command, how you can erase your lines. Like this is the paint command, paint software. We have a line in here, and we can erase it by eraser. That we want this portion, we don't need this portion. But how you can erase this for this Fusion 360 line? How you can do it? Well, we don't have eraser in here. We don't have eraser in Fusion 360. We have only two ways to delete or terminate a sketch entity or sketch element. One, you need to click it and then delete it completely, so the entire thing will be gone. Another, you can trim it. How you can trim it? Let's say I have a line in here, and that is intersecting this line also, so that is 100. So in here I can tell Fusion that this line is intersecting this line, and you delete one of the intersection portion for the line, either this 100 or this 600. So that's how the trim command works. You click on the trim command, you select the intersection portion that you want to trim. Either you power trim it by clicking and then dragging down, that will be all, or Ctrl Z, or click the trim command and then hover over the sketch entity and click the entity that you want to trim it out. That's how also you can trim a sketch entity easily. So that's you can delete a portion of the sketch. Now we are going to look at some sketch constraints. Why do we need sketch constraints? Sketch constraints controls the sketch orientation and position, and also the defining the geometry, how it is one element, how one element is related to other. So that's how you can create the relations between the sketch entities. So I'm going to delete it. Now I'm going to create some lines, right? This is a line, this is another line. There are two lines created. I'm going to delete it. This is another line, and all of them are separated. I want to create a rectangle. As you know, Fusion 360 is a very much handy software. As you can see, it can move. As I didn't fixed their position, as I said earlier, I didn't made the sketch dimensions. So in here you can apply sketch constraints. How you can apply the sketch constraints? There is a command coincident command or coincident constraint. Make one point to one line, or one point to another point, or one point to another arc or circle coincident to each other. That means they are one. If I make this point coincident with this line, this point will be one of the points of this line. It can be any point of this line. If I drag this, I can drag this anywhere, but in this line, that should be inside this line. So Ctrl Z. So that's the coincident command. I can make it also coincident with point to point. I click that and click that. That's coincident. I click that, that coincident. So I am connecting the dots. So they are closed now. I want to make a rectangle, right? So now I am going to apply a constraint that will be making things horizontal. Like this line is a little bit angle, but I want it to be aligned with x-axis, this red axis, the x-axis. So that's a horizontal command, horizontal constraint. But there is a horizontal vertical constraint, and how it works, that how much close your this line in entity to the horizontal or vertical depends on this horizontal vertical constraint. That means if it is close to horizontal, it will be horizontal if I apply horizontal vertical constraints. So I am clicking on this, and you can see as it was close to horizontal, or less than 45 degree actually. So that's horizontal now. This is close to vertical, right? Because it is more than 45 degree to the horizontal. So that's not close to horizontal, that's close to vertical. There is more 45 degree and more angle in here. So if I click in here, you can see it is vertical now. And if I click in here, that's going to be horizontal, and that's vertical. As you can see, there are some signs showing us that this is vertical, this is horizontal, this is vertical, this is horizontal, and you can make them other things. Like if I like to make it horizontal by dragging it by mouse, I can't. They can be small in size or large in size. As I didn't put the dimension yet, that can be changed, but that's the horizontal can be vertical, or the vertical cannot be horizontal if I apply sketch relations in here. Now I want to make a relation with this coincident relation with this point to the center of the origin of the sketch. So you can see I made it fixed in here, as the origin is fixed. So that's a good thing to put position of the rectangle. Now you can see the two lines are black and rest of the two are blue. So if I drag it up and down, you can see I can change these two lines position, but I can't change the position of this black lines. So if I select the sketch dimension and create a dimension in here, I'm creating 400, and now I'm creating 250. You can now I fix them with dimensions, and now they are fixed, they are defined that this is a rectangle that will be positioned right there in the origin of the sketch, and that will be 400 in length and 250 in width. So that's defined now. Equally, let's say I want this 400 also. I deleted that dimension, so I want this 400 also. So I don't need to put another 400 in here, as I want equal, this line equal to this line. So I can put an equal constraint in here. I put equal constraint, and they are both equal and fully defined, fully constrained sketch. That's black. So that's how you can make some changes. Now let's say I have this line on the outside of this square, and I put this coincident relation between this point and this line, so they are together. Now I want this line to be perpendicular to this line. So how I can make that? I can make that in two ways. There are two logics. One way is I make this horizontal line by using the horizontal vertical command, or I can use perpendicular. So I click the perpendicular constraint and select the entities that need to be perpendicular. So they are perpendicular 90 degrees between them. You can change the angle now because there is a perpendicular constraint in here. So that's a way to create the perpendicular constraint. Now I am going to show you the tangent constraint. I selected a circle, I created a circle, and I am going to select the tangent constraint. I select the circle and line, that will be tangent. Select the circle and line, that will be tangent. Now I am going to create another circle. I can make tangent constraints between the circles also. So I select the tangent constraint and select the circles. They are tangent now. So now if I move them and dimension them, they will be tangent to each other. So that's a good way to select a line. Let's say I want to select create this line, and I want this to be construction. So now what I want to do is that make this coincident to this line. So this circle center is coincident to this line. So as we know, it is over constraint. That means if as this is this circle is tangent to these two lines, that doesn't need to be defined as this line is will have the center. That will obviously have the center, so that's over defined. I don't need to define that. But this circle can be defined as this is moving, and I can define that like this center and this line is one line. We don't have any error. So that's a very much good way. I can put a radius or diameter between them 170, and I can put 120. So they are defined and ready to use. So yeah, that's how you can create the basics of the sketch. And when you create a sketch, just click finish sketch. That will give you a sketch profile in the timeline. You can use this profile to create the 3D shapes, apply the 3D commands in here, and we will see the 3D commands, the basic 3D commands in the next day. till then, have a nice time and goodbye.